faces, but know each other by the end. We are recording this, as you can tell, so it would be great if you leave your cameras on, so that'd be great. So we're excited today to share our new strategy and our rebranding. So this is the first time we've actually rebranded in 11 years, and we feel like our previous branding served us very, very well. But in today's world, 11 years is a long time. And we've also, our strategy was for 4 years. And again, 4 years is a long time. So we felt like if we do both of those together, we can look back and look forward both at the same time, taking what we've learned from the past and what we want to learn from the future. So we were reading something, myself and Rosie, as we were coming over, about the 5 C's of the external environment. And for those who know us, you'll know that we love multiple C's and P's and D's. So we thought we'd just start with that. So the 5 C's of the current environment are COVID, climate change, cost of living, cyberspace, which is actually AI, but that doesn't begin with C, and conflict. So with all of those things in mind, and it feels like we say this all the time, we say, oh gosh, this is a very turbulent time, rapidly changing world. And every year we say that. So it still is and still will be. So hopefully our strategy is broad enough to focus on the issues that are going to come up, and also focused enough to focus on the issues that we have at the moment. So Ian's going to say more about that, and Rose is going to talk about our branding. But before we do that, let's just share the objectives and the plan. Okay. So today's objectives to celebrate and launch our strategy and brand identity, to strengthen relationships with the Kaplan community and make new connections, and to share our insights and encourage collective learning and reflection. If there's anything anyone can learn about the process we went through, then we'll be delighted. So that's partly why we want to share it with you. And you can read that quote, but that's something we feel is really inspiring, and hopefully we live up to that. So the plan is we're going to firstly introduce our new strategy, then the rebrand, and then we're going to go into breakout groups with an opportunity to reflect and connect together, have some feedback in the plenary to see what people thought of it all, and then we're going to do a review and close. So we've got an hour, so we hope you enjoy the time together. Over to you, Ian.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you to everyone for taking part today. It's really, really good to have you all with us. Our strategy, I'm just going to present a few slides. So this is actually our 4th strategy cycle. I was just looking it up, and we think that we've got, I see Simon Oldroyd is with us, and one of his comments about the new strategy, and Simon was with us from the beginning, was that it keeps the DNA of what we've had throughout. So the DNA is still there, but we've got some new emphasis that we're bringing through, which I'll come on to. And another thing that I noticed is that our chair at the very beginning, John, is with us, and John always said, you know, to keep the feet on the ground and make sure there's kind of money in the bank. And thankfully, we're keeping our feet on the ground and there's money in the bank as well. So I think whilst we're emphasizing growth, the growth is about growing better and growing our influence, not about growing bigger, because we want to keep the quality very much in a good place and all the time growing better in that way. So if we go on to the next slide. Yeah, what's new? One of the things that we've refined is about what makes us distinctive. And it's not any one of these things, it's the combination of them, really. And in the strategy, which I've circulated just last night to those people attending, or we can share again, there's more detail around these 3 points. But one of them is all about how we really are servants to the organizations and the individuals we work with and the teams, because we're helping you to bring about sustainable and transformational change. The second is a kind of a recognition that we journey alongside you to find greater direction, balance, and confidence. And one of the things I noticed that Clive is with us, who's been very instrumental about thinking about neuroscience backing up our work in different ways. And one of the things you said, Clive, in a podcast was being at your best when you need it the most. And that's a lot of this second one about journeying alongside people, is we hope that we we help people to be at their best when they need it the most in these very challenging times that Lorna referred to. And then a lot of what we're all about is trying to create dynamic and engaging opportunities for, again, in our, whether it's coaching or whether it's facilitation, whatever it is, for opportunities for people to learn and connect. And we're very passionate about learning, thinking, and acting differently. So if we go on to the next one. We've also refined our kind of theory of change, which is simple, but again, there's more detail in the strategy. And again, this is something, again, going back, that's consistent with our kind of DNA, and Aldo particularly was key in this regard. But it's about the initial drop in the pond and the ripples of change. So that initial drop, we conceive that now as our connection with organizations, with individuals. And everything we do has an element of leadership development. It always has, and we recognize that even more now. So even when we're facilitating a strategy process or whatever, we always integrate leadership development. The next one is the leading change, and that involves the processes when we're looking at organizational culture or structure, impact assessment, board reviews. Then in one way or another, all of our work involves leading change processes. And finally, the next ripple in terms of what we deliver anyway is amplifying our impact. So we're very keen to keep thinking about how we can have greater influence and make more connections in the smartest way. Again, thinking of using AI and other ways to reach more people. And in that respect, we're very excited about shortly having a Capla House app, which is going to be out in the next month or two, hopefully. And the fourth goal is our internal goal, which is about growing sustainably. Just a couple more from me. The next one, our strategy, what we're particularly focused on is we're going to be reaching proactively out to do more work around displaced people, the environment, and women and children. So those are the three kind of biggest focus areas for us. And the next one is about, a couple of points there. I think Saf is with us, who's facilitated our work around anti-racism in recent times. And I think Lynn is with us in terms of our feminist approaches. And we're trying to embed those very much more in all facets of what we do. And we're clearer and bolder about wanting to work not just with not-for-profits, but not-for-profits and businesses committed to sustainable change. So it's a clearer, direct statement than we've had before. So I think we'll just go on to the next slide. And it's a question to get a bit of interaction going, because Rosie, in a moment, is going to go through our branding process, which, as Lorna had described, we thought it would be good to do the two together, and it's worked out very well. But what does brand mean to you? So there's going to be a Mentimeter, and if you go to the chat, you'll see a Mentimeter link that Rosie has put there. And there's no right or wrong answers, I hasten to add. We're going to share one definition, but just in your own words, write down, what does brand mean to you? A feeling. It's great. We'll get a few and then we'll move on, but that's great. Reputation. There's a few flooding in now. A representation of your values, what you stand for. Identity. Tells the story. Knowing what you're getting. The sum of all the parts of how internal and external stakeholders view us. Another one about story, the story of the organization and how others will understand it. Recognizable distinctiveness. Sense of who you are. Brilliant. A clear summary of who you are. clear professional image. Just looking at it, you know who you work for, the organization that we are, identity, awareness, our work. So that's good. Well, I think that's enough probably on that. We'll just share a couple of definitions, that one on brand and one on strategy. We use different definitions of strategy, but here we just put one that we commonly bring up: how an organization in its entirety best directs itself in a changing world. And then one on branding: the identity of an organization, how people recognize, remember, and think about it. Includes the name, logo, look, feel, and the emotions, values, or ideas people connect with it. So that's from, I think, one international marketing organization that had that definition, and the other one is from a sort of a compilation of about strategy literature. But you can see that they both kind of do a dance with each other. So I'm just going to hand over to Rosie now. So thanks very much, everyone.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Rosie, for those who might not have met me, and I'm very lucky to be greeting you from India today. I'm in Udaipur with one of our clients. So I'm just going to take you a bit through the branding. I'll make it interactive as well, and sort of sharing our journey, but also hopefully some useful learnings as well. So, when we do everything, we always start with the why. So why rebrand? And for us, it was about, sort of refreshing our brand so that we could better reflect who we are and what we do. It wasn't necessarily about completely, starting from scratch. It's just that refresh. We also wanted to sort of increase our awareness and recognition so that we could amplify our impact, and also enhance the way that people can access our learning, our resources, and also attract the kind of partners and work that matter to us, as well as remaining relevant. So it's that sort of balance of staying with the current, but also getting ready for the new. So what was our journey? I mean, initially, a lot of it was prompted by our anti-racism journey, and thinking about language and imagery and how we sort of come across. So it started back in around December time. We started as a team to define what we wanted our identity to be. We then sort of took what we came up with and started some concept development, trying ideas out and sort of prototyping. Once we were fairly clear with the direction we wanted to go, we then started sort of implementing it in terms of, redoing a lot of our tools and models and website and things like that. And then we're where we are today, which is our launch, which is really exciting for us. So overall, a sort of 4 or 5 month process. And alongside this was the sort of renewal of our strategy as well. So they kind of came hand in hand. So I'm just going to take you through these sort of 4 chapters that we took and just give you a flavor of some of the sort of things that we did. So we started by defining our brand identity, and sort of answering lots of questions around, what are we trying to do with this? What do we currently like from our branding, and what's outdated? What do our audience think and feel? And, what brand personality do we want to sort of get across? And how much time can we put into this? We didn't want, this to take over from our day-to-day operations. So using that, we then sort of came up with particularly our sort of brand traits and the sort of brand mood that we wanted to create. So in terms of the traits, there was sort of like a mixture of these ones that are around being trustworthy and wise and confident, as well as these more exciting ones around being playful and creative and courageous. So getting that balance right was quite a challenge throughout, but a challenge that I enjoyed living up to. At the same time as well, we sort of talked about mood and that sort of warmth and soul, sort of being a safe pair of hands, but also recognizing that life is difficult and messy and stormy, and not, those that do know Kaplan know that we can often make things seem very positive, and it's about recognizing the sort of balance of the world we're living in. So we want to sort of, at this point, just ask you another question, and we'll use the Mentimeter again so that we can sort of see it on a poll. So to do that, click the link in the chat. And we're asking the question, which is, which of our brand traits resonate most with you and sort of how you connect with us? Even if you're quite new to knowing us, hopefully you can sort of pick the one that you would like us to represent. And you can pick more than one, so you don't just have to pick one. And we'll sort of see how that reflects on the poll. This will just be really useful for us. Oh, maybe I need to move on to the slide. Apologies. Hopefully it's there now. Okay, so yeah, hopefully you can answer this question. Which of our brand traits resonate most with you and how you connect with us? And just as a reminder, our traits are trustworthy, playful, reflective, creative, courageous, compassionate, wise, and confident. So you can pick more than one if you want, but this will just be interesting for us to see how you feel. So some of the scores coming in show that trustworthy is particularly one that stands out a lot, and reflective. And if you're not managing to use the Mentimeter, feel free obviously to put it in the chat, but the Mentimeter is a bit more visual. Okay, quite a few coming in now. This is really interesting for us. So creative's really shot up there. So that hopefully those again that know us will know that's one of our values. So that's important to us. So creative and trustworthy look like they're particularly ones that resonate most with you. Great. I'll go back to the slide. You can keep filling in that poll while I do. Okay, so the next stage then, once we were sort of established that, was the concept development. So trying to sort of come up with, okay, so that's how we want it to be. How can we actually materialize that? And I'm just going to give a flavor of some of the different things. There was obviously many different aspects, but just a bit of a flavor. So one of them was obviously our logo. So this used to be our logo. You can see the sort of green and orange and the sort of ray of sun with the sort of green hill, I think. And in discussing it, we had a bit of fun, and some of us thought it looked a bit like a margarine. Some thought, you know, not very unique, and we would kind of fallen a bit out of love with the colors. So that was just our reflections, and you might all have your own reflections. And we also were looking at what else is out there, and actually recognized there was quite a lot of similarities and other logos. They're not necessarily in the same sector as us, so that's not too bad, although you can see that there's one there about coaching. But either way, it was kind of quite done before, and we just wanted something that was new and fresh and hopefully exciting. So we started some concept development. These were just sort of things, and just to say, these I am not a trained graphic designer whatsoever, so I'm sure those that are on this call might be thinking, oh god, these are rubbish, but it's fine. This was just to start to play around with some ideas, so particularly playing on horizons and also on geese, and we'll talk a little bit about geese in a minute. But you know, they were okay, but as my partner liked to tell me, they looked a bit too corporate and didn't quite represent Kepler Horizons. So we went back to the drawing board and looked at lots of other charity logos particularly, and what we sort of noticed was that actually a lot of them were much more lowercase, much more rounded fonts. Colors were a bit simpler than what I'd been going for, so we redid them and started to come up with these sorts of ones. And as you can see, the geese particularly became more and more prominent the more we were doing this. So that takes us to our next question that we want to ask you. And some of you might know this already. We might have even made you fly around like geese if you're lucky enough to be one of those people. But if not, we would just want to ask, why do you think we wanted to include a flock of flying geese in our logo? What do you sort of think that, you know, it represents? So again, we'll do the Mentimeter. I'll just move the slide on so that you can access that, and you can put a sentence in, a few words in, whatever comes to mind. But why do you think we wanted to include a flock of flying geese in our logo? So Gareth said shared leadership. Very good. Sticking together. To emphasize shared leadership, they're all leaders operating as a team, collaboration, working well together. Take it in turns to lead in an area of your strength. Yeah, exactly. So not everyone might know this, but geese sort of travel in a V formation, and they tend to, the geese at the front is able to then move to the back, and others can sort of take the place, and they rotate and share their leadership so that they can travel much further distances. And really sort of resonates with us in terms of that idea that everyone is a leader, you know, taking a strengths-based approach and sort of collaboration. The V particularly means they sort of give uplift to the geese behind them, which means they can travel much further distances and get further together. And they're adaptable to change. I like that one that someone's mentioned. You know, they migrate each year, but really try and adapt so that they can survive. Great, thank you, everyone. So we'll head back. So in terms of our logo, hopefully most of you might have seen it by now, but if not, here is our logo. Just sticking, oh, we've just gone past it. That's one of the logos, but the other one is this one. So yeah, we've got the three flying geese there, sort of in a bit of an abstract style to sort of play on the creativity. And then we've changed our colors to be this sort of burnt orange and teal, again, sort of representing a horizon over an ocean. So the sort of sun-setting sky in the burnt orange and the ocean in the teal. We've also got our tagline, which is learning, thinking, acting differently. That's always been our tagline. So it's nice to have a bit of hark back to that, and in a sort of hopefully fun and playful font. And we've got a few other versions of it for different backgrounds. Some other areas of the concept development, one was the colours, which I've sort of already mentioned. So these are our colours trying to represent a setting sky. And we thought, you know, they've got lots of meanings behind them, the burnt orange and the teal, and I could go into that, but I probably won't have time today. But in terms of what they represent and trying to sort of bring a bit of liveliness as well as a bit of calmness to our brand. The other area was sort of graphics and visuals. So some of you might recognize these, and we got Simon on the call, who was really instrumental in helping create these with his son Ben. So we had some fantastic graphics, but again, we just needed sort of a fresh direction in terms of we were running out of different images, and often resorting to using Google, you know, pictures from the internet, and it just didn't quite all sort of, it wasn't as coherent as we wanted it. So we had a think and looked at a few other organizations, graphics that we liked. I think I spotted Minka on the call. So Ella's, they're one of the charities we work with in London. We loved their graphics in particular. And then Daraha, which is actually, I'm sat in Shivani's office right now, and at Daraha, and I liked her, we liked her graphics, their graphics as well, in terms of their distinctive style, the fact that maybe people could be of any age and ethnicity, and they're sort of that, again, that homemade creative style, but also a consistency. And we don't think they go out of date as much as some of the sort of online images might do. So that led to our icons, which are sort of this style, and sort of hand-drawn icons. Some other areas are our visuals, our pictures. So this is what we used to have on our website. You know, loads of amazing memories from these times. But again, these didn't quite represent the work we're actually doing now, particularly with the fact we've had COVID and we've changed some of the partners we're working with. So these are sort of a bit more reflective of the types of audiences and groups we're working with currently. So we sort of refreshed them. Some of you might spot yourselves in some of those images. Another thing, so it wasn't just also about the visuals, it was also about the sort of messaging and the wording as well. And one of that, we had some useful input as we went along, and William, one of our previous co-directors, gave us this useful learning about different types of reading, or, you know, different audiences. So there's, and some of you might spot the type that you like best, but there's often the 2-minuters. I'd probably put myself in this category at times, where, you know, you read the first and last few lines to kind of get a general gist of things. Similarly, the skimmers, people that sort of glance over the key points just and then move on. There's also the people that have the possibility of being drawn in, so they're sitting on the fence, so trying to find information that will pique their interest, maybe ask questions to help sort of draw them in. Then there's the in-depth readers. Any of you that know Peter Moore in our community will know this is definitely him, and he'll read through the whole document meticulously. And also the AI readers. A lot of people nowadays will just chuck a document into AI and get it to summarize the content for them. So as we were looking at our website and our various documents, we kept trying to think, you know, how can we satisfy all these different types of readers in terms of how we break up text and keep it simple, but also offer more for those that are interested. Okay, so then we got to the sort of implementation stage, which we've just sort of finished, or to some extent still in, which involved updating our strategy, website, PowerPoints, Ripple papers, tools and models, testimonials, flyers, policies, and so much more. So as you can imagine, that was quite a big job. And yeah, this quote is useful for us in terms of do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. So it's a constantly evolving thing, and please do, if anyone spots anything we've not quite updated yet, then do let us know. And a lot of this process was led by myself. I really enjoyed doing this. It really sort of links to my interests and my artistic streak. And it's probably cost us about £5,000. We didn't get any external help or any additional sort of resources. And we know these processes can take can cost a lot. So we feel good that in terms of the value for money that we got there. So these are just a few reflections to sort of finish up on before I ask for your reflections of what you've seen. And these are sort of just some of mine. So personally, I felt that actually doing the strategy and the rebranding at a similar time was really helpful. If you do have that opportunity, we do really encourage that, because you can really, it can unlock sort of much bolder thinking in a way. And in our case, nothing was off the table, so we could really sort of be quite courageous. Also, clarity is key, really spending time at the beginning, understanding why we're doing this, what the brand identity is, has meant that every decision I've taken since then has been so much easier. I've kind of understood why I'm doing it and what it's all about. And this idea that rebranding doesn't just mean reinventing, it can be rerouting that idea that actually it's recognizing what we're doing well and actually embedding that and just trying to shout about that more. And be more clear in how that's happening. Also, balance is important, particularly in terms of the balance between collaboration and being the geese all doing this together, whilst at the same time recognizing when too many cooks are spoiling the broth, and actually having a clear sort of vision so that we didn't all try and go in different directions. And also, the letting go can be quite liberating. It was they gave us chances to sort of be like, oh, why have we always done this? Is there a reason? And then actually be like, oh, we don't need to do that anymore. We can be different. And then finally, one particularly for myself that I've really taken from this process is to trust myself more, in terms of trusting my gut and in terms of recognizing my creative talent and actually using that for the benefit of the organization. So, sorry, I've done quite a lot of talking there, but now we'd love to hear your initial feedback on our new strategy that Ian presented and our rebranding. So again, I'll put the Mentimeter link in the chat, or you can just, sort of write directly into the chat. So anything you want to share in terms of your reflections about our branding will be.
Just to give some feedback from people. Like Dan, thank you, providing excellent clarity, very creative, love the new colors. One of the things about the colors was they're gender neutral colors, which was a point that came up from someone. Welcoming, clear and informative, but not corporate. Thank you for sharing the outcome. Sharon said, really represents where Capital Horizons is now. Thank you very much. Yeah, some various people with different degrees of background in marketing and that's interesting. I wonder is John Berry still there? Could you unmute John if you're there? Oh no, he's not there. Maybe not. Or Simon, you're there. Could you share your thoughts? Because Simon was the person who put our branding in the first place. So I'd be very keen to share your thoughts, Simon.
Yeah, sure. Am I? Oh, I'm not quite.
Yeah.
It's donkey's years since I've used Zoom. Am I coming through? Okay.
Yeah, very well. Yeah. All
Okay.
good.
No, I thought what I liked about it, as I said in an email to you all, I thought it was a great refresh, because it's very difficult when you actually refresh a brand not to chuck the baby out with the bathwater and forget the actual essential DNA that makes the organization. I think Rosie and the whole team have done an excellent job in maintaining the essential DNA of what Capital Horizons is all about, in both the colors and in the imagery, whilst making it's bold. I think the imagery is memorable, which is important in brand. Brand really, to my mind, a lot of people think brand is your logo or is the colors you use. Brand is really what other people think about you. That's the simple definition of brand. Brand is what your brand means to other people, not what it means to you yourselves. And I think the rebranding exercise has I'm just looking at it on the screen, so sorry if I'm not looking directly at you, but it ticks all the boxes that you need to do. Really, it's playful, it's creative, the imagery is with it, in terms of it's fairly modern. You know me, I struggle with with the termination or the terminology of feminist leadership, I think in itself it's is very biased in its own way. So I do struggle with that. Although when I look on the strategy page of how you're defining feminist leadership, I would tick all those boxes. I would agree with all of them. I just hate the way you express it. I don't hate it. I just think it's wrong. But that's just my opinion, and it always has been. So,
Simon, I'm just going to interject if that's okay,
yeah.
because of time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm just filling. All I was doing is filling time.
No. Well, thank you for being a great exponent of that art. So here we go. I'm just wondering now, Kamal, are you able to put us into breakout groups? Because we had a plan to go into breakout groups, and if not, we will keep working all together.
Yes, and I can put people into breakout groups. I don't know if we can see the slides with the 3 questions on it.
No, but I'll just say those, Kamal. But
I'm happy to do that, Ian.
Okay,
So,
great.
yeah, no, and just to underscore that Ian talked about just how important, retaining our DNA, the key elements of our DNA. And one of those key elements of our DNA was bringing people together, connecting people, enabling people to collaborate, across our partnerships, across our networks. And this is one of the fundamental purposes for the, and inspirations behind bringing everyone together on this webinar. So we're just going to put you into breakout groups. And there are 3 questions that it would be great if you could look at. What intrigues or surprises you about our new strategy and rebranding? The other questions are, how does this prompt you to reflect on your own strategy? And how might you think differently about your own branding and communication? We'll have, I think, 15 minutes for this, and then we will come back for a short plenary. So I'm just about to put people into breakout groups, and we'll come back after 15 minutes. So welcome back from the groups, everyone. I am just going to hand over to Ian now for the plenary.
Great. We'll just have a few sharing from different people. We won't have so long, but if we just give a few examples, and the idea was really to sort of shift the focus to see what learning you got for any organizations that you're involved with. So Hannah, could I bring you in, because you gave a good example in the group I was in. So what did that spark for you?
Yeah, thanks, Ian. So what I said in our little group was 3 things. The first thing was just how professional, and on the point about surprise, not that I was surprised that you guys would have been professional at all, but I was thinking the whole way through Rosie's presentation that, oh, they must have worked with a professional agency. And I was surprised when Rosie got to the end and said that she'd obviously led that with the team, and that was something that you'd done internally. So yeah, I was surprised, and it was brilliant. Second one was a reflection around our own business at Haygrove in terms of our rebrand, and we did that 8 years ago, and maybe it's time for a refresh for us. And the third one was around clarity and the importance of clarity, and what Rosie said about having that at the earliest possible stage around what you're trying to achieve, and yeah, clarity being very important.
Excellent. Oh, thanks very much, Hannah. That was great. I'll just bring a few other people in. Brian, could you just introduce yourself to people and just say, did that spark anything for you in terms of the Irish Emergency Alliance and the work you're doing in terms of strategy or brand?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ian. Congratulations on the strategy. We were just complimenting you and on your group. You've done very well with the strategy. I think it's very, it's clear, it's short, it's concise, it's easy to read. And we were also commenting that no better group of people to pull a great strategy together. You helped us so well with our strategy. So well done, Ian and Rosie, Kamal, and Lorna.
Oh, okay. And what did it mean? Spark anything for you about what you might do differently at Irish Emergency Alliance, Brian, or not really?
Put a bit of fear in us, I suppose, Ian, if I'm being brutally honest. As you know, our strategy is just 3 years old. we are now bang in the middle of the strategy. So it's like, oh my God, it's actually coming around to that near for us to start thinking of this again. And it's, as we all know, as you guys know, it involves a colossal amount of work. It really does, but it's very, very important. It's a really good opportunity for us to, you know, for all of us to reflect on where we're going. This is, for us, it's only 2 strategies. We've only done 2 strategies. We're only 6 years old. So, you know, the first one was about formation. The second one was about growth. The third one will be about, you know, really taking off, you know, but anyway, we will get to that, Ian, but well done.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I'll bring a couple more people in. We've got time. And just Minka, could you introduce yourself in terms of who you work with, Ella's, and what did that spark for you in terms of your own strategy and branding?
Yeah, thanks, Ian. That was great. My name is Minka. I work for a charity called Ella's. We're in London supporting survivors of trafficking. Yeah, I was saying in the group that I thought, you know, I think obviously Rosie is flipping brilliant. And I was saying that before it was great too, but there was always quite a lot to look at, and it was quite confusing with, you know, there's quite a lot of information, whereas now it's simple and it's really clear. And I think it was a reminder that simplicity is a way better, like it's so much better to make things simple, and also a reminder to like make sure that everybody gets the strategy, is on board with it. And when it's simple, that's easier to do. Sort of have, yeah. So thank you.
Brilliant, thanks, Minka. And Katie, I'll just bring you in. You're new. I don't think any of us have met you before, but I think you're in an NGO in Ireland. Do you want to sort of share your perspectives and what it meant for your organisation?
Hi everybody, so I'm Katie. I'm here from AFRI, Action from Ireland, and we're just at the beginning of our process of renewing our strategic plan. And I had a great chat with Beverly, and what we were discussing is making sure we bring in perspectives from the past, particularly as we're coming up to our 50th anniversary. So looking at past board members and past staff members and seeing what they can bring as we look forward to the future. And one of the things is we're a very small organisation, so we're looking at how we can kind of build our capacity a little bit more and streamline some of our objectives as well, and really look at the enabling goals. And I'm sorry I missed the start because I had another meeting, but I'm really looking forward to actually looking at the new strategic plan. So a huge congratulations on that.
Thanks so much. Thanks. Well, I'll hand over to Kamal now, who's going to sort of draw us to a close in an orderly way. But thank you so much, everyone, and thanks for the comments in the chat. I'm not quite keeping up with them, but one organisation we're working with at the moment, Aideen, I see you're there as well, and that's brilliant. And EIL AFS in Ireland are actually doing a rebranding and strategy process, and we're involved with that, and that's going hand in hand in coming months. So that's interesting. Kamal, yeah.
So thanks very much, Ian. I'm going to sort of share a couple of reflections based on the conversations today. But after that, and before we close, it'd be great. We're just in the process of putting together a short film for Capilla Horizons to introduce ourselves, and we're very lucky to have Gareth Jones, one of our advisors, who's going to be doing the filming for us. So if we could all, you know, pose when we take a photograph, that would be wonderful. So we'll capture the sort of community in action as part of how we work, and you know, the collaboration and community being part of our DNA. But just sort of one of the comments I've just sort of picked up in the chat was about ethics, and ethics not being sort of appearing to be included, but actually you know, ethics is absolutely at the heart of what we stand for and are about in the world at Capilla Horizons. You know, our values are put center stage of our purpose statement around courage, around compassion, around creativity to bring about transformative change in the world. So we always put values at the heart of everything we do. And strategy and rebranding, it's really about, you know, making a clear and bold statement about who we are in the world, why we exist in the world, and what we stand for in the world. And Rosie talked about that in terms of how we present ourselves in the world, and Ian referred to that in terms of, you know, what's at the heart of our strategy. So it's really, you know, who are we? And as Rosie said right at the beginning of our rebranding process, was that our work around anti-racism, and that was a sort of a deep dive into, you know, what are our biases, what is, you know, and how do we respond to those things that are unconscious. And it was really at the sort of heart of our strategy, is about, you know, it is about that, okay, you know thyself. Who are we in the world? What do we stand for? And that's absolutely pivotal to our brand and our strategy. So those are just sort of, you know, a few reflections to sort of tie together some of the things that you've heard today. I don't know if we've got access to the Mentimeter at all to offer any sort of one-word reflections. Rosie, Lorna, I don't know if we can do that and put it in the chat, or if not, I think they may have frozen actually. So if you'd just like to put in the chat any one-word reflections that you have about the session today, that would be wonderful. I'll just sort of keep an eye on those. Positive, brilliant, congratulations, very Kapler, very engaging. Congratulations on new brand, new strategy, inspiring, congratulations, progress. So it seems like people are reflecting positively, not only on the session, but also what you've heard. Colourful, building trust. That was one of the things that really came out of the Mentimeter earlier about what people value about Kapler Horizons, that sort of trustworthiness blended with creativity. And hopefully we've instilled or demonstrated that through the strategy and the rebranding, a brand that inspires trust, a strategy that inspires trust, but also linked very much to creativity. And many of you will know from how we've worked in the world that, you know, we always do our best to bring creativity, compassion, courage to the work in all our partnerships. More positive, inspiring, very inspiring. So, okay, great. No, so well, first of all, thank you very much for everyone who's come today. It's, you know, it's really a reflection of what an amazing community and network that surround, hold, you know, inspire Kapler Horizon. So we're really grateful that you've all made it today, heard about our new strategy, heard about our new look, what we stand for in the world, and watch this space, newsletters, etc., for further webinars where we'll take a deeper dive into some of the strategy themes that we've talked about today: displaced people, women and children, and the environment. So yeah, just a massive thank you to everyone for joining, and look forward to connecting and seeing you next time.